Started. Welcome to another year of our Wednesday webinars. We hope you will enjoy these, and you can always use them hopefully to promote your school districts and your centers. Our first webinar this year is going to focus on creating a social media policy. Hi, I'm Brock Turnipseed, Marketing and Communication Manager here at the Mississippi State Research and Curriculum Unit. And as we look through creating a social media policy, let's first look at social media. Some numbers around social media. The total population of the world, 7.67 billion people. Unique mobile users, 5.112 billion people, with 4.3 billion on the internet and 3.4 billion using social media. 3.2 billion of those are mobile social media users. So what that tells you is that there are a lot of people that are on social media. Social media is something that is taking off and it's not going away. So let's look at social media. People spend nearly 2.5 hours on social networks and social messaging each day. Americans average 7.1 social media accounts per person. And also approximately 95% of teens have access to a smartphone, and about 45% are online almost constantly. So what this tells you is that social media is definitely being used by the students in your schools, as well as your teachers and your administrators. So we as educators have to embrace social media and learn to use it in our schools responsibly, which is where a social media policy comes into place. So what is a social media policy? Well, social media policy, a lot of people think of it as something that is negative with rules of what you shouldn't do. But a social media policy can be positive as well. It's a code of conduct for using social media responsibly in your district. It should be an empowering tool. Not only focus on what you shouldn't do, but also focus on what you should do with your social media accounts in your schools as well. It also offers detailed guidelines for what is and is not acceptable on social media networks. So this needs to cover the broad gamut of all social media networks and also communication tools outside of social media networks such as websites, personal blogs, and messaging tools. But you need to also have those detailed guidelines to lay out precisely what is going to be acceptable and what is not going to be acceptable. So a social media policy provides protection for your school personnel, your administrators, your teachers, your counselors, but it also provides protection for your students. With guidelines written, people know what's in place and what you can and cannot do when it comes to social media and internet technology. It's also a way to provide consistency with your messaging and branding. Every school, as part of your message, should have a consistent brand and message that you guide your parents and visitors to your sites too. You want that message to be one of consistency across the board, whether it be from your elementary schools or to your high schools or to your career and technical centers. You want that message and brand to revolve around the vision and mission statement of your school. So where do we start? Designate a lead person. You need to have someone in charge of creating the policy. Districts that have a communications director, this would be this person. This person should be responsible for all of your communication needs and should be the one to take the lead on this. If you don't have a communication director in your school, you need someone in staff who handles the communication, preferably someone who is in charge of your social media accounts would be a good place to start. Form a district-wide team to draft the policy. So you want to have groups from all throughout the district to help draft the policy because this is going to affect everyone. Also, consult with legal counsel. You want your legal counsel involved because when you're talking about policies, you're dealing with also legal issues such as your First Amendment rights and things of that nature. So you want to make sure that you're covered from a legal standpoint as well and avoid any legal loopholes that could get you in trouble. Also, research the policies your school already has, and also reach out to other districts. We're all in the business of education together, and we need to collaborate together to come up with policies that work well. One policy for one district may not work well for another district. Other policies may work well, and they may have ideas that you may not think of. So don't hesitate to reach out to other districts and take notes on the policies that they have. Also, make sure that your policies, you have to decide whether your policies, you want them to work already in your handbook, and you want to work the policies that you do have already in place. You want your social media policy to reflect those as well. So what should your plan include? Define first social media. Forms of electronic communication, such as websites for social networking and microblogging, through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as videos. Once again, this plan and policy needs to cover your bases for all forms of online communication. That includes personal websites and blogs as well. Have a set of core values. Represent your district with integrity. Protects you from legal issues such as privacy and copyright laws. This can be a big factor of getting your social media policy shut down. So you need to have this core set of values, to ways to deal with copyrighted music, copyrighted pictures, copyrighted video. Make sure that anything you post on your social media accounts does not have copyright with it, because this is a big problem that can get you in legal trouble. But when we talk about representing your district with integrity, make sure that you follow the mission statement and guidelines set forth by your school and district, especially when it comes to social media. Focus on behavior, not regulating technology. Personal responsibility. Content published on social media can be long lasting. So you don't want to regulate the technology that happens. You want to focus on using that technology responsibly. In Missouri in 2011, they tried to take away all technology that they could use. Well, the problem is, in trying to regulate the relationships between teachers and students, they ended up reaching far beyond into other areas of trying to regulate speech that they could not regulate. So don't regulate technology. Focus on teaching responsible social media habits. Also, value engagement. We talk about being negative on social with our social media policy, but you need to use a social media policy to value engaging with your stakeholders, engaging with your the others in your district. This is how you build a social media community. When people respond, have a plan to how you're going to respond to people. Have a plan to how you respond to both positive and negative comments. Have a plan of who is going to respond as well. And also have statements written out that you can use to post on your social media accounts when people have questions. Think ahead of what questions people may ask or what comments people may have. Value that engagement and interact with your followers on social media, but also include guidelines of doing so in your social media policy. Detail the expectations for all use of social media. Go through the do's and don'ts. The do's, like we talk about, engaging. Talk about using pictures in all posts or videos in all posts. We talk about making sure that we follow copyright laws. The don'ts: don't post out of anger. Don't post political or defamatory statements. Make sure you're using culturally sensitive language. Those are the kind of the don'ts that we don't want to have. So detail these expectations of how you use social media. When you outline them in your policy, you have a written statement that you can go back to should you need it. Hopefully you will not. Lay out rules regarding employee-student relations. Lay out the facts that your employees, your teachers do not follow your students on social media, but also how you can react. You can talk to students through and engage students through your school accounts. So lay out those rules regarding those employee-student relations. Encourage following the district's branding and messaging. Hashtags. Your schools may have hashtags and they may have certain styles of how they write things. Have a consistent message in that and put it in your policy. And also, how will the district handle those negative comments. Those can be the comments that get you in the most trouble. So have a plan of who's going to handle those and how you're going to handle that. Remember, it is a customer service aspect to it. List the contacts for posting information to the school and district's official accounts. Who's going to speak for the district in a crisis? If you don't have a communication director, who is going to handle all of the contact that comes on social media? Hopefully you have just a small number of people who do that, and that way you can help craft a consistent message across the board. To whom do you report social media issues? So in case you see something on social media, who do you report that to? Those are the big questions that you need, and those are the things that you need in your social media plan. So hopefully this helps you and you can get your plan launched if you don't have one already. Any questions, feel free to unmute and ask. Well, if there's no questions or thoughts, we'll remind you that our next webinar comes up on November 20th, and we're talking basics of photography. So that's going to be a great one, and you can see the rest of our schedule here as well. Remember, it's on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central. And also, if you weren't able to tune in, you want to watch any of this webinar and any previous webinars, you can do so at this website, rcu.msstate.edu/webinar. And you can also see them on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Once again, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we helped you in creating your social media policy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or any other member of our RCU communications team, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at rcu.msu and connectionsms. Thank you and have a great day.